Welcome to Beyond Your Why podcast, where we go beyond just talking about your why and actually help you discover and then live your why. You see, we believe that knowing your why, that driving force behind every decision you make and every action you take, is the essential first step to really knowing yourself. It allows you to move forward faster and have a bigger impact. If you're already a fan of the show, then you know that every week we talk about one of the 9 whys, and then we introduce you to somebody with that why so you can see how their why is played out in their life. This show will be more powerful for you if you've already discovered your why. If you still need to do that, head over to whyinstitute.com and discover your why today. It'll only take you about 5 minutes. Now, let's meet today's guest.
This week, we're going to be talking about the why of contribute. To contribute to a greater cause, add value, have an impact in the lives of others. So if this is your why, then you want to be part of a greater cause, something that is bigger than yourself. You don't necessarily have to be the face of the cause, but you want to contribute to it in a meaningful way. You love to support others and you relish success that contribute to the greater good of the team. You see group victories as personal victories. You are often behind the scenes looking for ways to make the world better. You make a reliable and committed teammate, and you often act as the glue that holds everyone else together. You use your time, money, energy, resources, and connections to add value to other people and organizations. So today, I have a fascinating guest for you. His name is Joshua Lee, also known as the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn. He is a seasoned entrepreneur, author, and crusader for authentic human connections in the digital arena. With 16 lucrative businesses and the book Balance is Bullshit under his belt, Joshua's journey is shared with his blended family, including his wife Rachel and their cherished children Jaden, Skylar, and Ava. In the early 2000s, Joshua propelled clients like MySpace, Yahoo, and Google to stellar heights, managing nearly $1 billion in ad spend to achieve 35 trillion online impressions. Yet as the digital space grew more automated, the essence of human touch dwindled. Seeking authenticity, Joshua founded Standout Authority in 2014, aiming to humanize personal brands. Through it, he aids high-powered entrepreneurs and professionals in crafting remarkable content and seizing massive opportunities on LinkedIn, the professional realm's epitome. Standout Authority's mission transcends business metrics, aspiring to help individuals stand out, inspire hearts, and evoke positive global change, all while preserving the soul's essence. Joshua's efforts have led to collaborations with luminaries like Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan, John Maxwell, and enterprises like Oracle, Gartner, and ADT. Joshua remains a digital realm beacon, showcasing the blend of business success with genuine human connection. Joshua, welcome to the podcast.
Here, I appreciate it, and I can't believe you read the whole thing. Again, it's I appreciate you, but again, I was like, man, he's going through the whole thing. Let's do it.
I read it earlier, and I was going to shorten it, and then I thought, I don't think it would do it justice. You've done some amazing things. You got a great story. You've had incredible successes and incredible not successes that we can talk about. That all of us
talk about the knots.
Exactly,
again, like you mentioned. Why I wrote the whole book. I mean, again, it was all about, here's the things that I was too scared to be able to share because this is the things that we're taught growing up. Don't share these things that are quote unquote negative because it's that they'll define you. But the problem is they will define you in the right way if you share them, allow others to get to know you.
And we'll get into that. Joshua, let's do this. Where do you live currently? Let everybody know where you live currently.
I'm here in Austin, Texas, man. I mean, it's a beautiful sunny day out, so excited to be able to share.
Which I'm a little ticked off about because I came back from Austin this morning and I was there all weekend running in the 5K part of the Austin Marathon, and it was freezing cold, 30 degrees.
Cold.
Yes. So, yeah. All right. Now let's go back to
66 degrees out now. So, it's sunny, so it's a little bit
Thanks for showing me that. Yes, I'm pretty happy about that. So let's go back in your life and where were you born? What were you like growing up? What were you like in high school?
Man, I love this. I mean, Gary, these are the types of questions we ask our clients too. When we ask, tell me about yourself. They don't start far enough back, So I was born in Texas, in a little town, Beaumont, Texas, actually, south of Houston. Growing up, my family is from a little town called Nederland, Texas. So, this is way back when. I doubt they even had a stoplight, but my dad moved around a bit. So I ended up really most of my education and things like that through high school was actually in Houston. So still a Texas boy, born and raised, but grew up in Houston. Growing up, it was interesting. I was an only child. So I didn't have that built-in brother and sister, right? So I was spoiled at times and lonely at times as well too, right? And I think people don't always take that in. They go, "Oh, only child, you got everything." Yeah, but I don't have those built-in like brothers and sisters that so many other people take for granted for so long. So, that was interesting for me because for me, being able to get to know everyone else, that was really key for me, right? Really getting to know who I was talking to, what their why was, and then sometimes mimicking that, right? To be able to grow that friendship. So that was me growing up. I played football, basketball, did the typical stuff there. If you ask my mom, she'd tell you I was an entrepreneur at a very young age. I was that kid that was selling candy out of his locker, because I saw a need, going through. Back then, let me tell you, the margins were amazing. Mom and dad paid for the candy and I kept all the profit.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So high school, you were probably a popular kid. So for those of you that can't see Joshua, he's very fit and his hair stands straight up. About how many inches is that?
Depending on when's the last time I got a haircut. Right now, I probably need one. So I'd say we're at least 2.5, almost 3 inches.
Yeah, straight up, like mohawk, straight up, 2.5 inches. There we go. We got a side picture there. No loss of hair, but just straight up and shaved on the sides. So,
yeah.
Joshua's why, like we talked about, is to contribute to the greater cause, right? Add value to other people. But how he does that is by challenging the status quo and thinking differently. And then ultimately what he brings is a trusting relationship where people can count on him. So that explains the hair to the rest of us. But, okay, so you graduate from high school, football, basketball, athletics. Where do you go from there?
That's an interesting, because I know you said I must have been popular. Yes, I had a lot of friends, but at the same time, Gary, I'm going to tell you, I felt outside looking in always, right? I was always part of the groups, but I never felt like I fit in, right? And that was always one of my struggles being able to go through. I was friends with everyone and friends with no one at the same time. And so it was always an interesting, I don't think I truly understood friendship until I met other entrepreneurs, right? That really understood that kind of thinking outside of the box kind of aspect. So, and I say typical, but I was athletic at a young age. So, really kind of going through, I played varsity, football and basketball. Chose football. And look, if you go back in and watch movies like Varsity Blues about Texas football, let me tell you, they're not joking. I remember, I can show you now my knee because I used to be able to get a shot of cortisone every other game to make sure I could play. And now, if anyone knows about cortisone, it actually deteriorates cartilage. So like my left knee is pretty shot these days in my 40s. But, I had the opportunity. I was that kid too that was very athletic playing. But on the inside, it took me a long time to realize this. I took in a lot of information. School was boring for me. I could sleep through class, but I could read a book and remember everything and take the test and ace it. So growing up, right before I graduated, I could have graduated 2 years early because of my SAT scores. My SAT score, I was 30 points shy of a perfect SAT score, which was, pretty phenomenal being able to go in thinking of, it's Josh the jock going through, but I had that other aspect of me. I remember going to visit the campus of University of North Texas on a quick start program that would take my next 4 years and put them into 2. So I would come out instead of a senior in high school, I would come out a junior or starting my junior year in college. But I remember they go, it's one of those things, Gary, like, hey, how do you feel when people call you dork or nerd or make fun of you for being smart? I'm like, I don't know. I play football, right? Like I didn't have those because I was able to kind of manipulate how my persona, how I was perceived by the different audiences. So I didn't have that issue. And they told me I couldn't drive for the first 2 years. I was like, dude, I'm turning 16. Are you kidding me? So I was out. I ended up going in and following my girlfriend at the time that we were picked to get married, first out of the gate, to college and playing football for about a year. And then realizing that, man, this was in Nacogdoches at Stephen F. Austin University. And I realized too that football, there's nothing out there. It was called Nac of Nowhere for a reason, right? Because again, there was nothing out there. There was football and just hanging out. And I was like, I got to get out of here. Because I had the opportunity to go to any college I wanted to prior to that. And so I left. I went to the University of Texas. And that's where I found Austin. Really enjoyed being in Austin. But again, still that same issue with college. So with me, while I was going to college, before I left, I worked for a company that most people probably forgot about, GTE Wireless. That became Singular Wireless. That I think eventually became AT&T Wireless. But I was one of the youngest corporate account executives they had in their history working at that company. And so before I was getting close to graduating, I was already making six figures. And I realized I was like, wow, what am I doing? Right? Like there's opportunity for me to make more money in the business side of what I'm doing comparably to getting the degree that I was following that I would take me a lot longer to get there. And so that's kind of where I started and left and actually got into the real estate business. So that's kind of where my journey of the entrepreneurship started in the 2001, 2002.
So you started at GTE and then left. Well, how long were you at GTE?
I was right at senior high school all the way through till I got to University of Texas in Austin. So I'd say about 2.5, 3 years.
2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Graduated from college or didn't graduate college?
I left 10 hours early. I just couldn't finish it. It was something that I couldn't push myself. It was one of those pieces that, and this is the funny thing. I had friends of mine that wrote their thesis in college on me because I was the one that helped them, almost had a perfect SAT score, and I still left college early because I just didn't see the value in it. I mean, to be 100% honest, like, look, give me a book, give me a test, but I don't need you to read that book and then tell me how your perception of the knowledge in that book is, read. So that's kind of where I lost that interest and saw bigger opportunities being able to create financial freedom for myself.
Okay, so you leave GTE, you leave college, and you get into real estate.
I did. I went and got my broker's license.
Okay.
So I got a broker's license because that's where it was like everyone was doing, the real estate side, being able to do loans. And I was like, man, well, I don't want to be the person doing the loans. I want to be the person they're going to get the loans, right? I want to be able to be that one up. Where's the opportunity? So I got my broker's license in Texas, Florida, and California.
And then got into the loan side of it or the house side of it?
The loan side. Yeah, I was on the loan side. So I was doing the brokerage of the loans.
So mortgage loans.
Yep, that's where I was at. Mortgage loans, being able to go through. And I started up an office here in Austin. I was here for a very short time. And my lender asked me to move to California. And it's interesting, too. The girlfriend that I was dating at this time, when we got together, she was like, oh, we can't stay together long. I'm going to move to California. You'll never leave Texas. Oh, behold, the opportunity arose. And I said, oh, no, just don't worry about that. We'll figure that out. I was like, you're right. I'll never leave Texas. And then, of course, I found myself in Long Beach, California in 2002.
When was the big mortgage bust with New Century?
I think that was 2007, right before 2008 happened. So, I mean, it was pretty farther on, 2006, 2007, around there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
out
right before.
Okay. So you went out to Long Beach. Houses are going crazy there, high priced homes, and in the mortgage business, great space to be in. My roommate from dental school dropped out of dental school and went into mortgage banking. Did way better than I did.
Yeah.
And so
here's
you did that for
Gary. I mean, let me. The whole piece, I thought it was amazing, right? Again, we were following the money, and this is a problem that I found myself and a pattern that I found myself in because I was taught as a kid, right? Follow the money, and for me, once I got to California, I realized, wow, people with I used to say this. I say people would run over their own grandmother to close a loan. They would put people in bad situations. I saw 2008 coming before 2008 was even close to it, because they put you in reverse mortgages, negams, all these other things. And people were, especially in California, buying their homes for $200,000 to $300,000. Now they owed close to $1 million on it because they were making more money on their refinance every year and comparatively to their jobs. Wow. That was crazy. And so, I was really only in California for about a year before I was like, I can't do this anymore. Ethically, I didn't feel alignment in it and the people that were there. And so I had jumped out, and I had a buddy of mine that brought me into a little arena called digital marketing.
And did you stay out in Long Beach during that time?
I did. Yeah. I stayed out in Long Beach probably for another year. Let me tell you, it was a hard time too when I was making that transition. I remember because I had a roommate came out there with me, and then we also had my girlfriend at the time too, who later became my wife, my first wife. And I remember trying to be able to make it in between that transition, and for about 6 months, we lived at the dollar store. Right. I was going to the dollar store to be able to buy a lot of the food to make sure I could afford the expensive apartment, so I didn't ruin the credit, and be able to go through that we had in downtown Long Beach. And it was crazy. It was something that I learned from my father, because again, when I was 15, I had grown up in an upper middle class family, and my father lost his job right before I turned 16. And instead of being like everyone else going, oh, well, I'll find a new one, I'll just sit back and wait, he was like, no. He worked at Circuit City. He worked at Sears selling siding. He sold 18-wheelers till he found his next opportunity, which allowed him to be able to grow within that company to be the EVP and retire before he was 60. But these are something that was instilled in me. So it was like, okay, how do we continue to make this work? So instead of just, folding in or letting things go, I was like, okay, well, we're going to make it work. Dollar store. Let me tell you that food's it's not great, but it'll help you survive.
Okay, so when you say you left mortgage banking, got into digital marketing, what do you mean by digital marketing? Like, what were you doing? How did they talk you into that big of a change?
It was a buddy of mine that was in there. He said, look, this is a new opportunity. It's really starting out, and I think you should check it out. I was that guy that taught me. Look, I went through, see what's in my room or not, but if I say the word Alexa, sometimes we'll have all of a sudden they have the machine start speaking up. But I'm like, okay, I don't have one in my office here. But I used to go through this Alexa list, and it was how sites were ranked online. And I would go through, and we were here to be able to monetize traffic, help people put ads on their sites. And so I would go through about 1,000 sites a day. And I'll tell you, even back then, most of the sites online that are ranked highly are not regular sites. They're adult sites. So, you do really kind of go through a lot of this. Even my mom, I remember, she's like, my friend, I was talking to her son, and he said that you're looking at adult sites all the time, all day. And I'm like, hold on, Mom, calm down. I'm not, it's someone took things out of context, being able to go through. But I was going through, Gary, to reach out and say, hey, Gary, I see you run the site y.com, right? Like, if I can make you $1 more now than you're making, either I'm going to make you more money, or I'm going to prove to you that you're making the most money you can on your website, monetizing your traffic, right? Easy sell, right? Like, look, it's a win-win. Either I'm going to show you that convince you that you're making as much money as you can, or we're going to show you we can make you more, right? That's it. And I would go through there. And it was crazy to be able to work for that and be able to go through that whole aspect. But I built a lot of different relationships with a lot of different people. But I was only there for about 6 months because the owner at the time of the business decided to change from being a business owner to a business operator. And a lot of people don't know the difference. There's some people that work on the business and some people that work in the business. He was someone that actually had everything running well. And then he decided to be able to take things back into his own hands. And not every entrepreneur is meant to be able to run a business. And the problem is most entrepreneurs don't figure out this until it's too late. The right ones actually go from entrepreneur to business owner with an entrepreneur mindset, right? That's what you should strive to be, not an entrepreneur your entire life. But he did that. He shifted, and basically I remember the call going, hey, from his assistant, so-and-so wants to be able to get on a phone call with you tomorrow. Do you have time? He's never had his assistant call me, like, okay. And then I got the call, hey, we're shutting down.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? And my next chapter was, and I had these relationships. Why don't I use them? Why don't I find the people that are doing the ads? Why don't I find the people that have traffic and pair them together? So my first true company in that space was born, called Leads and Feeds. And it was really I was the middleman between traffic and advertising, being able to take my percent on the traffic. We were doing arbitrage, buying low, selling high. And very quickly, based on my relationships, Gary, one of my first big clients that really shaped who I am and where I am today came into play. It was a website that most people forgot about these days, called MySpace.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what was that like, getting a call from MySpace?
I had some relationships in there, and they're like, Josh, we know you've been kind of in this space for a while, really being, and it's before everyone really knew who they were, what was going on. They were just getting kicked up. This was like late 2003, 2004. And I said, hey, we need to figure out how to monetize this thing. And they didn't have any ads. So, in essence, I helped them come in and create one of the first social media ads that most social media ads are based off of today to be able to monetize their traffic. And that was leveraging, again, another relationship that I had with a company called Overture, which became Yahoo. I think Yahoo's Verizon now, owned by them. But, they've kind of moved. But we would take and be able to, purchase their traffic from pennies on the dollar, and we're buying clicks, basically, right, for a tenth of a penny, and then turn around, and we'd have keywords like mesothelioma back then that would pay anywhere from $500 to $800 a click. And so, I'm paying a tenth of a penny to make $500 to $800. We were literally printing money. We were doing anywhere from, I hate to say it, on a bad month, 2 to 3 million a month, to a good month, all the way to 5 million a month. It was crazy at a very young age. And so that's where a lot of my traffic career started. And we would go through, and from there it was, how do we actually shift? How do I shift and change? What's the leverageability of this? And because I controlled that, I had so much traffic, I was able to build other relationships, create more opportunities. And I started having people come to me, hey, how do you do this? I want to be able to do this in a different arena. And so I realized really quickly that I had built an infrastructure in my company, sales team, IT, finance, all those other aspects, and I could actually leverage that. It wasn't just about the traffic. And so I started actually taking 51% ownership of these other companies that were experts in their field. I would be the back end, and I started really monetizing almost every acronym you could imagine, from CPC to CPA, CPL, and I could go on to the ways to monetize, and I was the guy that you would go to be able to monetize online. If you were looking for whatever arena it was, and everything was about the money, right? How do we actually make more money? But I was lost behind that persona, Gary. And that's kind of where, things started shifting in my life.
So you were printing money, working with MySpace, working with Google, working with all these other big companies, bringing in tons of money. And at that time in your life, you were married?
I had gotten married in between then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So shortly after I started my company, things like that, and I started doing well. Again, good Southern boy. I was raised that you don't ask your wife to marry. You don't ask the woman that you love to marry you until you can support her if you needed to 100%. And I had finally felt that security. And so that's where, and I'll be honest, I think I did a little bit too, because I was an entrepreneur. I'm always trying to fix things, that aren't working. My relationship wasn't working at that time, but I was going to fix it. I was going to get married. That was going to make things better.
Yeah.
I also tried to fix it a couple different times with my two children, because again, I wanted kids, she didn't. And so I tried to fix it 2 other times before I realized it wasn't the way to fix things. And this was something I couldn't fix.
Mm-hmm. So biggest lesson you learned, because I know you talk about it a lot during the making lots of money, but not feeling like you're really connecting, or not feeling the same way inside, just not feeling fulfilled. Is that what you would say? How would you describe it?
There wasn't fulfillment. There wasn't any I felt lonely at times again. You know, I told you I felt lonely in the beginning in my career because there was perception of me and who I was. And I mean, like when around my friends, because I hired a lot of my friends to be able to work for me when I was building that business, and they were comfortable working for me, right? Not pushing me. And, you know, and it was all about, you know, the money I could spend. I mean, I got to a point, Gary, I mean, where I was 40 pounds overweight, never been overweight in my life. My relationships had become monetary, and I had no vision about where I was going. I just knew where I was at. It was this whole work-life balance, right? I worked as hard, I played as hard as I worked. And that was everything. And that really didn't shift until I started having kids. And and kids, I wanted to do better. I wanted to be better. And it also made me feel hollow that I wasn't. This wasn't something I was excited to tell everyone about. And if I told anyone what I was doing, honestly, most people go, oh, you're just bragging. Like I had family members that were like, we don't want to hear about your company. Like, great, you're making a whole bunch of money, right? Like, don't talk about it. And that sucks. You can't have people that you can celebrate your successes with. I didn't have that in their life. And so, you know, there was a point, Gary, where I left California, I moved back to Texas. And when I had my kids, so my son, Jaden, who's 14 now, my daughter, Skylar, who's 11, and I always had my door open because I wanted to be able to make sure that in my home office, because if I couldn't say what I said in front of my kids, I didn't want to say it at all. Something I really wanted to, because I wanted to be a very present father. And I still remember the day when my office door shut, and I would sit in my office, 8 hours of time, staring at the wall. And I mean, my office not only became a sanctuary, but a coffin that I would contemplate if the money I would leave for my family would be more important than me. And that was a rough time. And outside looking in, perception-wise, social media-wise, I was successful, aka I had monetary value. But that's how society looks at it, but I didn't feel successful. And it was a rough point in my life.
How long ago was this?
9, 10, I'd say that's about 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
I was 35.
You're 35. 35 on top of the world, had all the stuff you wanted, kids, wife, living the
My
dream.
companies ran themselves too. I had so many people working for me that I didn't need to be part in the business, right? So even most people didn't even think I worked that much. And I was running 10 companies at the time that were ranging anywhere from 7, 8, and 9 figures.
Wow. And what finally was the turning point?
For me, it was going on a trip. A friend introduced me to a good guy by the name of Yannick Silver. He runs a group called Maverick 1000. It was in the early days. And they invited me for their first trip to be able to meet them to a little island called Necker Island to meet an amazing entrepreneur, Richard Branson. And all of a sudden, I saw people that were actually wanting to do good on this world, that actually celebrate their successes with others, and still make money at the same time. And I knew there had to be a better way. That was the turning point, right? And I remember coming home, and I remember too talking to my wife, going through things, and she goes, "Why do you want to help people, right? Why don't you do what you do best, make money?" And that, Gary, I think that's when I finally realized that the gap between us had grown too large. And I was really blessed too, because a good friend of mine by the name of Jesse Elder gave me permission at that point in time to be able to take not only my life back, but give my former hers. And so that's when my divorce started. And, you know, most men don't start divorces. It's usually on the other side of the thing. And I remember my lawyers going, "Josh, this is going to take up 3 years, right? She thinks you've hidden money everywhere." I had really good tax attorneys that, you know, helped me in the tax side of things. And I said, no, we can always make more money. We can't make more time. And basically I closed everything down, sold it, whatever it is. And I gave everything to my former. And at 36, I moved back with my parents with a little bit under $1,000 to my name to be able to restart, to be able to save, to do the maximum, which is 6 months in Texas, to be able to go get divorced and to be able to the other side of it and not take my kids through that pain and suffering that a lot of kids go through these days.
Wow.
That was the restart that's what I thought was the restart of the new Josh.
Joshua 2.0, but it was maybe only 1.5?
Yeah, it was. Gary, I mean, like I was free, right? But I was like going out with my friends, trying to forget. But when I was home, I wasn't even being a good father anymore. I was not paying. I was depressed. I didn't realize I was in a mini depression, right? Because I had walked away from that. I thought I was free. I'm released. I've walked away. I've started over. I've let go of all the businesses that didn't make me happy anymore. They just made me money, and that's the big thing. Oh, money makes you. No, it doesn't. Right? Money should be a byproduct of what makes you happy. Right? Not the forefront of what makes you fulfilled and happy and feel success. And so, I went through that for a little bit. I mean, and that's kind of, I remember too, reaching out to my friends one day and I actually said it to them and they go, yeah, we know. We've been waiting for you, brother. And next day when I finally released my perception of everyone else's perception of me, because I perceived everyone still saw me as the guy I was. So I was hiding in this container. And I think this is what drives most people in this world crazy, right? Our perception of someone else's perception. We have no clue what their perception is until they tell us. But it keeps us in a locked cage. Until I finally released it and allowed to be able to hear other people what's going on, not did my life turn around and I found the new opportunities.
So at 36, starting over, living with your parents, $1,000 to your name, what'd you do?
Well, of course, I became a life coach.
I love it.
Became a life coach. Wrote my book, Balance is Bullshit, How to Successfully Integrate Work and Life. I had my man bun, so a little bit different hair, my mala beads. I mean, my pendulum had swung. I was like, I'm going to show the world how to live that I was too scared to be able to do. But the problem with that was, Gary? One, I realized I wasn't a life coach. Two, which again, there's so many people and they're like, oh, I'm going to teach the world. Two, I was forgetting my past to forge a new future. And not until after going through that for a while and honestly meeting my wife now and her, I had to take a second to be able to say this. I had never had anyone. I did a long distance relationship with her at first. And we were just like, look, let's just be 100% ourselves. And either we love each other or we hate each other, right? One of the two. And that was freeing. To be 100% you 100% of the time with someone that you really wanted to spend your life with. We've done that till today, right? And we continue to be able to do that. And I remember one time she was like, I'm going to leave. She was working at Microsoft. She goes, I'm going to leave Microsoft. I'm going to move back to Austin for you. And she was turning down. She had just gotten the role from to be executive comms for one of the EVPs at Microsoft. I mean, like that's the corporate ladder fast track. And she turned it down for me. And then I told her, "Now I don't want you to move to Austin." And I couldn't tell her why. Couldn't tell her why because I couldn't pay my rent, and I was scared as a man. I couldn't do my side. Those are the things I was told not. And you know what she said to me, Gary? She goes, and if the situation was reversed, you'd have me, right? You'd take care of me. So of course, I mean, that's what men do. She goes, well, then why can't I say that to you? I got you. I had never had anyone in my life tell me that except for my parents. It was amazing to be able to hear that from someone else and the pressure, the weight of the world off my shoulders for a second. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting slightly emotional right now just thinking about it because it was so touching. It was such a freeing moment. And that allowed me to be able to kind of shift a lot of what I was doing and take the time to be able to see where I was moving forward.
Wow. And so she moved back to Austin. You guys moved, in together or what?
Yeah.
And then started a new career path.
She was still working for Microsoft. This was before COVID. So she was kind of working remote. They were testing it out to see if they would allow it or not. They're like, we don't do remote, before all that other stuff. And she was actually working, and listened to me a little, some of the stuff I was saying. And it finally dawned on me that I was, again, forgetting my past to forge a future. And so when I finally realized there was an opportunity to be able to go in, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, because she was working at Microsoft when they purchased LinkedIn, and I heard a lot about this. And she goes, and she's like, you should check it out. And then when I realized, I looked at the platform, I said, wow, I spent all my career monetizing the web. What if I shifted and I took what I'm doing as a life coach, but put it on the compared it with what I was doing before, and actually humanized the way we are online. And it was like magic. I mean, like I went in, I started doing it myself. I reached out to people I cared about. I treated other people like human beings online. And all of a sudden I start getting opportunities with like men and women I used to read their own books on how to be able to start my own company 20 years ago. Now I'm helping them educate, inspire, and draw people in, not sell them, creating advocates first, allowing byproduct become clients, right? And really making that the focal of what was going on a platform that was all about spamming and about B2B, when in essence, there is no B2B or B2C, right? Business to business or business to consumer. It's all H to H, human to human. Every company is run by another human being. And when I talk about it, when I do it, when I get to be able to share it, like I smile about what I do these days, right? And I mean, that was the start of what got me here today. Of course, you know, later on, about 2.5 years ago from today, my wife left corporate, came into business with me. Now everyone's like, oh, we see the magic behind Josh. I'm like, oh, yeah, she is amazing. Yeah, no, but together, you know, we're able to bring, I know everyone listening can't see the picture behind me, but even behind me, you'll see this is something I had done after an ayahuasca journey. This is the male ethos and the female ethos of what I believe and perceived in art form. And I try to sit between the two because I believe both sides of the coin are needed to be able to create true value in this world. And so, you know, that's kind of how we found ourselves today. Now, I know I skipped a little bit, and I'll stop because I've been talking for a while.
No, that's the whole point. You're supposed to be doing the talking. But let's talk about I remember seeing you speak at Traffic and Conversion a few months ago, and I loved when you said human-to-human connection, not B2B, but H to H.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little bit. Like, give an example. What do you mean by H to H versus B2B?
Well, I mean, again, when you think about it, Gary, I mean, everyone goes, well, what are you doing right now online? Is it B2B or B2C? Business to business or business to consumer? Are you a business selling to another business? Or are you a business selling to the consumer? Like, you know, like I'm either selling to you, I'm trying to sell this Mentos and sell you gum to a person, or I'm actually trying to sell it to Walmart, right? So they can then sell it to you, right? That's business to business or business to consumer. But the problem is, again, everyone I'm talking to, I'm not talking to an organization. I'm not talking to a company doesn't have an ethos. It doesn't have a soul. I'm talking to the people that are behind it. And that's when I finally realized, right? Like we're sitting in this world always chasing an algorithm. And it's like, oh, well, here's the next hack. Here's the next trick to beat the algorithm. And those algorithms are constantly changing. And when I finally realized that if you just treat people, it's nothing different than what our mothers taught us, or a lot of our mothers taught us growing up, is how to treat other human beings. If we just start doing that online, it's not chasing. We're not trying to chase what's changing. We're just evolving with it, and it's a slow evolution. And it was amazing when you just reach out and understand that as human beings, that's who we need to be able to talk to, and that's who we are always talking to. B2B and B2C, they're just ways to diversify ad spend. Like guys like you and me 20, 30 years ago. Right? They're just looking to be able to monetize more. And so I think this is where, you know, finally hit home that people want to connect with other people. They want to understand their why. I want to be able to go in. If I was going to work with you, Gary, I mean, the same thing, right? Like I could be part of the Why Institute, or again, wow, I really align and connect with Gary. You know, I bet if I have alignment with him, commonality, I understand that's what humans look for. We look for commonality. And we also make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. We do not make decisions being indifferent to something. Brands can't love or hate, right? They're indifferent based off of the people that run them. So we have to be able to understand that. Once we understand that, you can really actually build conversation, because conversations create relationships. Relationships open up opportunities. Most people, when you're looking at B2B or B2C, it's connect, pitch. And what they're doing is hoping to be able to pitch 1,000 people, hoping to close the one person, when in essence, all they're doing is pissing off and spamming 999 people. But if you treat everyone like a human being, you might get that one opportunity, that one sale, that one partnership. But because you treated like human beings, you created 999 advocates. And I'm going to tell you right now, an advocate is so much more powerful than one client, because an advocate can bring someone 1,000 clients, because my name out of someone else's mouth rather than out of my own name is more powerful. And that's what people have to understand.
So if I'm listening to this and saying, yeah, I use LinkedIn, I spend time on LinkedIn, what does it look like to use the H to H thinking?
Yeah, let's do it, man. And, this is that whole thing. People go, oh, LinkedIn, it's new. Like, no, it's been around for 20 years. It's turned to 21 this year, right? Like, so it's been around for a long time. And I mean, where it's going, it's a powerful platform when used the right way, because you can be a light in a very dark tunnel. That's why people go, I just get spammed all the time, right? And so like for us, I look for trigger points. I hate cold calling and I hate cold email, right? There's rarely a person that when they get a phone call, they answer it, there's an unknown number, and they don't hear a hello on the other side within the first second, that they sit around going, well, let me just hold on and wait for the automated person to jump on. It just doesn't happen, right? And so I look for trigger points on LinkedIn. When we talk about the human algorithm, it's like, comment, share, post. Like, comment, share, post. I mean, that is the human condition online. We've been conditioned over the last 20 years to be caught in this pattern. Like, comment, share, post. Like, comment, share, post. That's what these social media platforms want. So how do we actually create a stopgap in someone's pattern? Well, it's easier than you might think, right? For us, those trigger points, did someone look at my profile? Did someone engage in my content? Or did my ideal audience, like Dr. Gary Sanchez, did he post something amazing online? That's amazing what you have to do to be able to get someone's attention. I could say, oh, Dr. Gary, man, I saw you looked at my profile. I just want to reach out and say thank you, man. Too often we don't appreciate that. I'd love to be able to connect with you and find out what pushed you to look me up. Gary, saw you like my recent post, man. I just want to reach out and say thank you. Or, Dr. Gary, man, that post on the Why Institute, I'm really understanding someone's why, really resonated with me. Thank you. Thank you is a powerful stopgap in someone's pattern. When you appreciate someone for something they take for granted on a daily basis, it makes them pause. It makes them stop in their tracks. And wow, they go, I don't care who you are, where you've been, appreciate someone for something they take for granted. It's an amazing way to be able to build that connection, to be able to start that opportunity. Rather than, hey, Dr. Gary, have you thought about using LinkedIn to get leads? I mean, two different scenarios. And as I said, man, it's the things I do on LinkedIn, the things I do online. LinkedIn's the vehicle. Let's just put it that way. Like, I can do this across any platform. People are listening can do it. It's just the things my mother taught me how to treat human beings. So first and foremost, thank you, right? Appreciate things that you take for granted, that others take for granted, right? They connect. Well, again, we're always looking for trigger points, actions they've taken. They've connected. What do I do now? I pitch now. That's what everyone else does. They pitch as soon as you connect. My mom always taught me when I meet someone new, give them a compliment, right? Like, oh, cool dog, love your hat. Oh man, I love that car that you're driving, right? Like, just nice little compliments that kind of go in. A compliment on LinkedIn, I see it as an endorsement on their profile, right? For marketing, whatever it might be. People go, how can you endorse someone that you don't know? First rule in my house with my kids, it's nice to be nice, right? It's just the rule going through it. I wish more people in this world would actually see that, right? It's nice to be nice as a first rule, rather than going, how can I tear this person down to build myself up? That's how most people look in this world, right? So it's nice to us. We give them an endorsement. It says, LinkedIn goes, hey, Dr. Gary, Josh endorsed you for marketing. Do you want to say thank you? Hit a little button. I get a message. Now it's you starting the conversation. It says, hey, Josh, thank you so much for endorsing marketing. Really appreciate it. Now I can go back in, ask another question about you. Man, Gary, happy to do it. By the way, I'd love to know your thinking on this, right? Asking someone's mindset. And then it's as easy as providing value. No matter if they give you the answer that you're not looking for, you still provide value. Most people, when they give you an answer after you ask a question, and you're like, oh, not my customer, they get dead silence. They never hear from you again. Everyone always says lead with value. I push everyone here listening to leave with value. How do you leave a conversation with value that it resonates with someone so they continue to think about you, that you didn't ask for anything, but you added value without needing anything in return? That's what creates advocates in this world. And so those are the things that we go through to be able to actually do that human condition online. And it's amazing how these relationships, these conversations, these opportunities are created day in and day out. And look, my clients that I work with, again, some of the 1% people in the world, right? That are truly adding value. Names that I could mention on here that everyone would know. And what they're doing is they're creating advocates first. I mean, it's not just about that. Because again, what you kind of see within this, what you see within people, Gary, is this. Like, I'll give an example of someone that you and I both know, Dan Sullivan, strategic coach. Dan's been around for a long time. I had the opportunity to be able to work with him. And, one day, and we forget that these people we hold with high regard, sometimes we forget that the people that made us and put us where we are, yes, we put in a lot of work, but also we have a lot of advocates underneath us that have been there cheering us, liking our posts, commenting, sharing, being able to go through, buying our courses. So we go in, I remember Dan just reached out to someone and said, hey, I just want to reach out and say thank you, man, for liking my recent post. It really meant a lot. The response from the gentleman is something I'll never forget. And this is my why of why I do clients. His response was, Dan, you'll never know what this means to me. Today, I plan on it being your last. So by you showing me to appreciate the things I took for granted in life, gave me new hope. Thank you. I will continue on. That's why I do what I do. Who would have thought a mere thank you for someone liking a post could change the trajectory of another human being's life?
Wow.
So that's the byproduct of what we do is clients, opportunity, all other stuff. But that's what we have to be able to think about. These are little ripples, because I tried to change this world on my own. I damn near killed myself doing it. The only way that I can truly change this world, not only for my kids, for future generations, is work with other amazing humans like yourself and the other people listening right now. Because that's the only way we can change this world, is together. And so that's where I know that that's the human that I look at every single day.
I love that. It's funny because it's like going full circle, right? From human connections we used to have to not human connections, and automated and AI and auto responders and auto emails and auto everything, to now nobody wants any of that auto stuff. Will even listen to it or even pay any attention to it. So now we have to go back to where we started, which was human connection.
And Gary, I think this is the whole thing, man. I think we have a better time to shine now more than ever. We go, oh, well, we live in a world of AI. It's a digital revolution. No, it's a human revolution more now than ever, right? Because again, now is the time to be able to shine as a human being. AI is going to be here. It's going to be around. But the people that use AI as a tool, not a replacement, will be able to shine, because the tool in the right hand is like a paintbrush in an amazing painter's hands, right? It can create a masterpiece, right? Or it can create destruction, right? In the wrong hands. And so that's what we have to really understand, that content's not king anymore. There's going to be so much content, so many experts, because of the AI revolution that's coming in right now, that content's just noise. Its quality is queen, right? The quality content that's taken that human element, be able to put in there, that's connecting, is going to stand out more than ever. I think that's what we have to be able to pay attention to. Like you said, yes, we went through that. Now after COVID, I'm like, the people with that human connection. I'm like, we're talking about TNC. There was someone that was there, was like, oh yeah, I don't have to show up for podcasts anymore, right? Like, I can just have AI. They'll do my entire podcast. They'll have a video of me. You'll never even know the difference. I'm like, it seems like more noise. Like, why? Like, I can create content faster than ever. Do I need to? Like, I post, and for our clients, we don't post more than 3 times a week. We get more visibility than we ever need. I don't need to post 3 times an hour. This is more noise.
Yeah, I like what you said. Content is noise and quality is king.
Right.
It's almost like quality is noise and connection is king.
Even more so, right? Relationships, how do we actually go through to be able to do these things? It's the quality of the connection, right? How do you actually do it? How are you building it? If you're starting off with the wrong foot, why should you expect? Like, again, people go, oh, wow, I never get caught. But why are you using these same spammy techniques to be able to draw in your own audience if you never fall for it, right? Like, you and I see these things all the time. We've been around for long enough. We know when it's just an automated email, when it's automation, when it's going through, they're just trying to look for a lead. Why do we think that our audience won't either? And if they do we really want them as a client? I want an educated, I want an inspired audience. I want someone that chooses to work with me because they're so educated and they understand what we're doing. They see the value in it. Not that I'm having to sell them every single month. It's time for the rebill. That's exhausting, not only for us, but for them.
For those of you that are listening, I've got pages and pages of notes, Joshua, right now, and I know I missed some things. You keep throwing these little gems out there that I got to go back and re-listen to this.
Yeah.
Because as I write them down, just a little what you just said right there. It's obvious but not obvious about the educated client. Right? There's such a difference between a client and an educated client in their excitement to work with you versus skepticism and who the heck are you?
It's exhausting, right? We've all been there. We're sitting there every call we're having to prove. And we get on that call and we get that pit in our stomach, right? And we're like, man, okay. I got to talk to Gary again. I got to reconvince him while he's still working with me. Like, I'm like, just like I got on this call. I'm like, yeah, man, Gary and I get to connect again today. Man, I'm excited. I can't wait for this. That's what I want every single call. And that's what I choose with every single one we work with right now. It's like, if I get that pit in the stomach, or I tell our clients, you get that pit in the stomach, like, tell me, like, I don't want that. We passed something that we shouldn't have passed. And we've already extended past what we should be working with anymore, because go out there. Again, same thing with me, right? When I went through my life, reset, right? Sometimes people just need permission to be able to move forward. And we need, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, sometimes we need to give the permission to our clients that it's okay. And guess what? When you do that, more amazing opportunity will come to you tenfold.
Yeah. Last question for you, Joshua. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, or the best piece of advice you've ever given?
For me, I think it stands true today as it was when it kind of hit me. I'm not sure if this was given to me, it was downloaded into me, whatever it was, and it might have been for my wife too, because when we started that relationship, I talked about being 100%, right? And for anyone listening, you need to be 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. I promise you, it's so much easier being able to be yourself all the time, right? Than trying to remember who you were pretending to be the day before. And this is what we live in this world right now. This is what affects our children. This is what affects everything that we go on, this perception of what's going on. If we just allow everyone to be able to see us for everything that we are, the beauty that's in the wrinkles in our face, and, and the cracks in our business, our mistakes that we've made, right? That actually are brilliant ways of learning. And we share that, maybe we'll actually, Dr. Gary, this is why I wrote the book, right? I didn't write it for anyone other than myself. This book right here truly just shares all the things that I was told I shouldn't share. And it was freeing for me to be able to share with the world, and hope that one other person in this world would read it and not feel as alone as I was at that point in time, that made me contemplate if I should be on this planet or not. And if I hadn't tried to hide those things, if I had just been 100% me, maybe it could affect people more on a greater scale. And so, that's it, man. 100% you, 100% of the time, on and offline. I'm talking about not just in business, in your relationships. I live that one life with my wife right now. There is not a work life and a personal life. That's like having two different personalities. Anyone with two different personalities, either you're taking lots of medication, or sometimes you're seeking a lot of help, right? We have one life and we have to live it that way. And I guarantee you it's freeing for everyone when you actually start doing that.
I love it. Joshua, if there's people that are listening that want to connect with you, want to work with you, want to follow you, want to learn more from you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I love this question. And, usually all our marketing friends will be like, hey, let me give you a download so I can capture your email and be able to go through. For me, LinkedIn, of course, is my power platform. I love that. But I don't want someone just to send me a blank connection request. What I would love, so I can get to know them, and honestly, Gary, so I get to know you better, reach out to me on LinkedIn and tell me why you love Dr. Gary Sanchez. What inspired you to be able to follow the why, right? To be able to listen to his podcast, because now I'll get to know you and I'll get to know Gary as well. And I'll be able to share those stories with him. So that's it. That's what I love, man. It's starting a conversation.
I love it. That is awesome. Joshua, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And I know you and I will be in touch with each other throughout the years for sure.
Yeah.
So thanks again for being here.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode and that through today's guest, you heard how important it is to know your why and how impactful it can be in your life and the lives of those around you. Be sure to head over to whyinstitute.com and discover your why today. Remember, the more you know about yourself, the more you'll know about others. I'm Dr. Gary Sanchez, and I'll see you on the next episode.